Hello, everyone. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back with you and welcome back to the channel. As the thumbnail suggests, there is still a great need for us to be vigilant as we are out scouting locations for our co-living bliss. I want to share with you a couple of occasions, recent occasions, where I was reminded of this. They're two different places and on two different continents, actually. So there's the experience that I had in Mexico, and then there's the experience that I had in the UAE. Uh, I was there scouting locations because my goal is to establish a couple of soft landing spots in a couple of places that I myself can pop in and out of, but that others within the community can actually have access to as well. So the place in Merida, Mexico, uh, taught me that lesson, reinforced the lesson, uh, in that I had come across the property after, scanning my network. I'm a VIP member of another expat group, and this opportunity for this property came up for members only for a short while, and then it was going to be advertised to a larger community. So I checked it out, checked out the ad, and thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. It's a property that's in the north part of the greater Merida uh, metro area, but not far from being in an urban center per se. So I thought, okay, been to Merida a couple of times, but hadn't ventured to the north. And I was actually going to be in the country in San Miguel. So I quickly reached out to the property owner and said, hey, when are you showing this property? What's your timeline for getting it leased out? I'd like to, take part in whatever your showing schedule is, but it would take me changing my flight and coming over from San Miguel versus going home from San Miguel. So, yeah, we were able to coordinate. And we'd had a couple of conversations about the property. I'm a real estate broker, so, I know how to kind of get a feel for a community and the landlord. So I had a couple of questions on the two or three occasions that she and I spoke. We spoke via Zoom a couple of times and then, chatted via email and text. So was able to get questions asked and answered. And I think the last time we talked, a couple of days before I was headed over, I asked, hey, is there anything else you think you might have left out or anything you want to share with me about the property? No, can't wait for you to get here. Look forward to us connecting. So, same, okay, ready. One of the members of the expat community in Merida had started a airport transport service. I thought, oh, okay, this will be great. She knows the area, and she'd be the one I'd rely on to get me over to this property in the north. She picked me up from the airport, and we made a couple of stops and just had some laughs, and then made our way over to the property. And I'd asked for the address from the property owner and had given it to the expat so she could, have it for her mapping and that kind of thing, and timeline and all of that. So put it in GPS. GPS just kept, looping and couldn't get us connected. And that probably should have been the first sign. But hey, we're optimistic. So we tried a couple of times and ended up, my signal was low, cell phone signal was pretty low as we were driving around, and Wi-Fi connection just wasn't good. Should have been another sign. But so we drove back to the main road and gave the homeowner a call that I was able to get signal. And she came and met us. And then we followed her over to the property. And we turned on our street, and the street stopped streeting. It became a roadway. Now, I called the area green space or brush, but the expat that was driving me calls it a jungle. So I thought, okay, we're not going to call it a jungle. But the asphalt ended, and you could see tire marks kind of weaving through some pretty tall grass. And I'm not sure what was on the other side of that, because the grass was just so high. And as you look to the left of the property, you could see the top of a school bus, abandoned school bus, kind of peeking out of the brush. So that was concerning. And it wasn't a rural street per se, but then as you look to she had neighbors, and as you look to the neighbor that was across the street, the top of their roof was peeking out from what seemed like an embankment. So, like, I guess you would drive down the street and turn down their driveway, and then you would have to go down into this driveway to actually get to their home. So I thought, of all the conversations that she and I had, she didn't tell me about heavy green space right next to her house, and her house was on the end of her side of the block. That was concerning for me, because when you looked at the green space, you could almost imagine that at some point lions, tigers, or bears lived down there. So from a safety perspective, that became a no-go for me. Then we got into the home. Beautiful, beautiful entryway gate. Um, it was a duplex, so both sides just gorgeous layout, design, decor. We got to the back of the property, and she was showing the pool. I thought, oh, lovely. We were talking about the maintenance schedule, that kind of thing. And then I'm like, well, what's that sound? And she said, oh, my neighbors have decided to start a goat farm. And those goats are so loud. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's the sound that goes along with the smell that I'm smelling. So I'm not sure how much I would enjoy being out in the pool if I have to smell goat waste, um, while I'm back here in the backyard. Now, those are things that won't show up in a video, a picture, and didn't come up in a conversation. So this is why it's important that you put boots on the ground and actually go. You've done your due diligence online. You've looked up safety information. You looked up, proximity to services, all these things. Go and see the property, even if it's out of town, even if it's out of the country. We're talking about creating a comfortable space and having a living environment that brings us comfort and ease. We've got to do our due diligence. So, needless to say, that property didn't work out. Fast forward to a trip to one of my favorite areas in the world, the Gulf region, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. I was recently there uh, for business and a multitude of business options. So, co-living was right up there on my co-living scouting was right up there on my to-do list. And in fact, part of my accommodations was in a future co-living space that I would establish. So there are these apart hotels where they're set up like an apartment, one studio, one or two bedroom style living space within a hotel. So some of the rooms or some of the floors may be designated for hotel space, and then some are designated for midterm. They don't really call it long term, midterm stays, where it might be 1 month to 6 months, maybe max 9 months, but rarely 12, because then that turns into another lease responsibility from the hotel perspective. So this was an apart hotel. It was a living space that was really a nice setup. It had a dining area, a living room, and then it had the sleeping area that could accommodate two people comfortably. So that was a separate living space, and then it had the nice sized restroom with shower uh, and tub combo. Pretty nice space. It had a kitchenette, cooktop, full size refrigerator, and the washer dryer combo. One of the space saving options that I enjoy. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. And I got there pretty late, so I didn't do a video that night slash morning. I think I got there maybe at like 1 a.m. But I did do a video the next day, and I was so excited to be able to share that space with you all, and talk to you about it being an option coming soon. However, uh, night two, I was still pretty jet lagged, but I decided, okay, I'm going to get myself on a schedule. So I went to bed pretty decent and got up for one of my normal bio breaks. And I went into the bathroom, and, my aging eyes, my jet lagged eyes thought that they saw some movement. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And in fact, I did. Uh, but I wasn't sure. Still pretty tired, sleepy, no glasses. So I thought, okay, let me turn the light off, and then let me turn the light back on again and see if I saw what I thought I saw. And I did. There were two little roaches crawling around the drain on the bathroom floor. And several places have a drain, especially a hotel. They don't want the floors to get slippery and someone have a slip and fall, and then there's a liability issue. So not surprised to see a drain on the floor outside of the shower. So I thought, if they're two small roaches, then there's a mama roach somewhere, and I'm not going to stick around to find out where she is or that kind of thing. I'm going to gather my things, and I'm going to get out of here. I had booked the place through American Express, their travel experience option through the app. So, grateful to have done that, because I was able to call them and say, hey, I'm packing my things. I've got a couple of things in the dryer. And as soon as they are done, I'm out of here. And yeah, I was doing laundry on night two because I got there, but my bags didn't. So I think my bags ended up taking like 3 or 4 days to get there. So I was going to have to handle that. So I thought, let American Express handle the room switch. So they found me another hotel, told me to just Uber over, and, everything was taken care of. So I did that. The staff downstairs, they were so nice. I did let them know that I was moving and turn the keys over. And, they tried to move me to another room, and they tried to move me to another of their locations. And I thought, nah, this might be an operational issue. and I'm jet lagged and tired and not here for that long, I don't want to chance it again. Let me go to another facility. So I did. Got to another space that was lovely. It was just a regular hotel. So, didn't fit the bill for in terms of trying it out for potential co-living space. But I was grateful that I was able to get there, get situated, because of course I had a conference and a meeting that I needed to be rested for the rest of the time that I was there. So same, none of that certainly wasn't visible in the pictures that I saw for the hotel and any of the reviews that I had read. Um, what I did find uh, equally disturbing, though, is as I opened the dryer was in a cabinet space within the kitchen, like kind of below the sink. When I opened that to grab my um, things out of the dryer, I looked over and there was a deceased roach on the inside of the cabinet that I didn't catch when I first got there, because as when I go to any hotel, I try things out. Look at well, in this case, I made sure the refrigerator was working, made sure that there were pots and pans and all of those things that were supposed to be there. Not that I necessarily was going to be cooking. Tested the water in the bathroom and made sure it drained down the tub. I did all those things, but aging, jet lag eyes didn't see that dead roach on the inside of that cabinet. So the ones that I saw weren't a new problem around the drain. There was a deceased one inside the cabinet that someone else must have killed and didn't wipe off the inside of the cabinet. Um, Left it as evidence. So, but none of that I wouldn't have known had I not put boots on the ground and actually tried it out. And that's how things are. We're going to have to spend the time and, in some instances, the money to figure out if these places are what they are advertised to be. And I'm of the mindset, as relates to that landlord in Merida, that she knew where her property was. She could have saved me a lot of time and energy by just being upfront and honest about it. And for me to withhold information is still a lie. And this is our safety, our sense of home and community that we have out here trying to find a space to live in. So we've got to get out there and do the due diligence. Now, if you have an opportunity um, that failed or didn't turn out the way you wanted it to be, please let us know in the comments. And if there's something else that I could share with you, let me know. I have checklists that will help you kind of walk through a property and also guide your conversation with a property owner if you are out scouting. And then if you yourself are interested in establishing a co-living space, I have information to share with you as well on how to establish the space and how to seek out the perfect co-living mates and occupants for your property. So glad to share this. I hope you got some insightful information from it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.